Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 904A, and today's date is February 26th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Global Economy Begins to Unravel as World Trade Collapses. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Let's head out to Europe and talk about Europe and Greece at this point. The Eurozone right now is deteriorating. And we're starting to see the Eurozone countries start to crack, splinter, fall apart, collapse. Because as we know, the countries that weren't doing well back in 2013, 2014, 2015, they haven't improved. Actually, things have gotten a lot worse. They've piled on more debt. They installed draconian laws. And the people have lost their rights in many of the countries in the Eurozone. And right now we see in the Eurozone, the economic sentiment basically deteriorated far more than they expected in February. And people are very pessimistic. We're seeing that the service and retail sector among consumers and financial services has declined. And all of this is coming from the European Commission. The Commission said economic sentiment in the 19 countries sharing the euro fell to 103.8 in February, and it is down from 105.1 in January. They're saying the business climate indicator fell sharply to 0.07 from 0.29 in January. So things out in Europe don't look that good. Now we know Greece, they made a deal with the Eurozone. They haven't made a deal with the IMF just yet. The Eurozone is continually putting them into further and further debt. And we see Greece has not improved. We're seeing more protests, more riots. And the poverty index in Greece went up to 9% in 2015, making it the worst year since the economic crisis. Now, remember back in 2008, when we had the first tranche of debt, and they told us that everything was going to be fine in Greece. Then it happened again like in 2011 and so forth. And guess what? They've been wrong. It has never gotten better in Greece. Actually, what has happened? It has gotten worse. It's the opposite of what they've told us. So along with the rise of the poverty index, the risk of poverty went up 16.1%. So the people in Greece, they're not getting their subsidies and benefits from the government because they were not distributed in 2015, and it's making them very, very hard to survive. And this is what's going to happen because in many of the countries, because what we're seeing right now is that these countries, even the U.S., where people are depending on food stamps, on the government subsidies, a lot of it's going to dry up. The government will not be able to pay. And this is going to pose a huge problem in each one of these countries. So you can look at Greece as the model of what to come. And we are headed down that path. Now, we realize that Obama is continually telling us that we are in this incredible recovery. The economy is doing fine. Unemployment is at 4.9%. You must believe me. Just believe what I'm telling you. It doesn't matter what you feel. Well, most people feel, as we know, because consumer confidence is going down, both in the board and in the Gallup polls, because people are feeling that something's wrong here. It's not right the way the economy is operating at this time. And I just got laid off from my job. Why is it so hard to find a job if unemployment is down to 4.9%? This is what people are wondering. Why aren't there jobs out there? And when I do find one and I put my resume out, how come no one's responding? Why is retail falling apart? Sears chairman Eddie Lampert, he released a letter to the shareholders, and basically it was all bad news. He's saying because of tectonic shifts in consumer spending, Sears is not going to do well whatsoever. Well, it's not just Sears. It's many other retailers. They're all doing poorly. I mean, we know Sears, Sports Authority, Kohl's, Target, Best Buy, Office Depot, Walmart, Kmart, JCPenney, Macy's, The Gap, Aeropostale, and the Finish Line Sporting Goods Store, all doing poorly, closing hundreds of stores. Now, the question is, why is this happening? If the economy is near full employment, and the economy is doing so well, but actually, when you look at it, and you look at the real economic indicators, we notice that basically everything's flatline and dropping at this point. Most of it is bubble focus, and that's what I call the central bank making everyone focus on their bubbles to make everyone believe that the economy is doing well. But when you look at the middle class in America, it's shrinking. If you look at the people that had high-paying jobs, they're getting low-paying jobs or they don't have jobs, so their discretionary spending completely disappeared, so they're not going out and buying things. And since they're not buying things, what happens? Well, the demand for goods goes down. Manufacturers, factories, they don't have to produce, which means that rail traffic, trucking disappears, the Baltic Dry Index stays at this very low number, and manufacturing declines. And this is what we've been seeing. When you put all the pieces together, it makes sense that the economy is not doing well. But if you look at their bubbles, and you're really not looking outside of the bubble that the central bank created and the U.S. government created, it looks like the economy is doing absolutely well. Well, it's an illusion. Think about this for a second. Remember right before the stock market crash in 2008, then again in 2009? Everyone thought that everything was fine. Everyone thought the economy was doing very well. Well, they kept on telling us it was doing well. They kept on telling us that things are going to improve. But until the market came down, everyone believed this. And then when the market crashed, and then crashed again, companies had the excuse to lay off thousands upon thousands of people. All of a sudden, we see these businessmen in the government asking for a handout. Now, before this, everyone thought everything was fine. The illusion was in place. When the illusion was exposed of just that, an illusion, all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. That's what we're going to see again. We have this illusion, and in everyone's mind, everything is fine. But when the illusion gives way, this is when the problem starts. And this is where we're headed, because we are looking at everything that happened in 2008. We compare it to what's happening now. And actually, most of the economic indicators are much worse than 2008 now. And they're continually getting worse. The Baltic Dry Index popped up a little bit to 327. Now, this could be a dead cat bounce, where normally when we see a huge crash, it bounces up a little bit, and then it crashes once again further. This is what happened in the stock market back in 2008 going into 2009. And we're going to have to watch this very carefully. And this is why we're tracking all of this, to see exactly what is happening, to put the pieces together, to understand how is this economy actually working. Well, when you hide things under the carpet, you keep things in the closet, yeah, everything looks great. But when people start poking around and opening closets and things fall out, you see the real mess. You see what they're hiding. Right now, they went back in time to the fourth quarter GDP. They revised that number to 1%. Now, the revision reflects an unwanted buildup of inventories. And the real final sales were very weak at 1.2%. So they're pushing GDP up. And then what they'll do is they'll take that inventory and they'll place it into the first quarter of 2016 and subtract from the first quarter growth and basically try to hide this whole entire thing. But what we're seeing is this is exactly what they do each time. They push things into different quarters. They manipulate, massage the numbers to make it look better than they really are. If they're having a problem, they push up Obamacare. They bring that in. They continually do this to make the numbers look fantastic. Now, what's happening right now is that we have seen the burst of globalization. And now we're at the point of consolidation, maybe retrenchment. And this is coming from the WTO chief economist Robert Koopman. And he said this last fall. It's almost like the timing belt on the global growth engine is a bit off the cylinders, and they're not firing as they should. Things are looking pretty grim right now. So we go to see what Maersk is doing, one of the biggest shipping companies. And we see that the largest container operator, Maersk, basically racked up $182 million in red ink last quarter. And the outlook for 2016 right now is not good. It's looking really bad. So we got the latest evidence that everything is completely falling apart. According to new data from the Netherlands Bureau of Economic Policy Analysis World Trade Monitor, global trade, defined as the value of goods that cross international borders, plunged 14% in 2015. That is the first contraction since 2009. The new data released on Thursday represent the first snapshot of global trade for 2015. And now we're looking at 2016. And it's already shaping up to be much, much worse. So where are we headed with all this? You know where we're headed. You know where everything is moving towards. And that is a collapse of the system. And when we look at these real economic indicators each and every time, it continually points the finger at the collapse of the economy. Now, the things that we're looking at are facts. Now, there are a lot of people writing in, and I can't get to every single email. There's just way too many. I'm the only guy here. There's no staff. There's no one else. I'm using a $14.95 headset to record all this, so there's no one else around here. And what we see right now is everyone is confirming what is going on in the country here. They're seeing stores close. They're seeing the real estate market top off and prices coming down. They're seeing houses not selling. People can't find jobs. So we are definitely seeing this entire system completely fall apart right in front of our eyes. And this is what we are tracking. So when the government comes out and the central bankers come out and they try to blame another group or country, we can say, no, we've been looking at this from the very beginning. This has been falling apart. It collapsed a long time ago. And everything that you showed us was an illusion. You lied to us all this time. It's nobody's fault except yours. And this is what we are looking at every single day. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.